Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Gaming the Max and the revisiting of a series that we have already played on the channel, Hearts of Iron 4 Old World Blues Enclave Reborn. So today we are going to come back to Old World Blues, play as the Enclave again with Enclave Redux on. There's been a lot of expansion on the map, and I'm curious of how they've switched it up in the mod to see how things go. Um, Let's go to not Utah. Is it Utah? West Coast. I think it's West Coast. Yeah, there it is right there. The Enclave under Sergeant Dornan. If you guys would like, I'll read it real quick. Brief history: 4 decades ago, Navarro was destroyed by NCR and Brotherhood forces in a joint strike to finish off the final bastion of the Enclave. Demoralized, leaderless, and homeless, the remnants scattered to the wind, never to be seen again. At least that's what most believed. Under the nose of the sleeping NCR, Sergeant Dornan has been working tirelessly to unite the Enclave remnants under his banner, contracting the many hidden civilian bases of the Enclave to integrate a new generation of America's finest. We start off with political infighting, which gives us daily political power gain of negative 0.20. Division organization and recovery rate negative 25% and negative 20% stability. We get hiding in plain sight, just for our war goal time plus 100%, and we cannot justify or can't have war goals justified on us. And then protected by the Sierra Army Depot, surrender limit plus 100%. So here we are in what's the part of New Reno. So we will be playing on Average Joe. It's usually what I play on anyway. We will be playing when we fight like the NCR and everything. We'll give them a couple of boost up, which is an option you get. You can give them like old world tanks and an air force like the bear can fly. We'll get it a little harder than it was the last time since I've been playing this game for almost 1,500 hours. So I've got some knowledge about it. So we're just going to close this. This talks about what the Pip-Boy Vault-Tec presents. If you guys would like to read any of this, I recommend playing the mod on this one. All right, so we start out with 5 units. Put our field marshal as Major General Grimm.
Who the hell is this?
We will
President? Enclave here.
I want to go into my audio really quickly. Turn down the voice volume just a little bit. All right. Now, we remember Navarro. Start this off. We will be playing as the Reformists again. I know I said I'd like to revisit the mod and play as the purists, but I absolutely adore the just the whole storyline with the Reformists. I don't know why I just kind of blanked on what I was thinking about. Let's do organized agriculture and warrior training. All right, so civilian factories. I cannot build anything more here, so we'll just build one infrastructure, and then we'll go into our 2 factories. Now we'll build the Watts laser rifles, and we will start to build not the recon kits, the support equipment. There we go. Do we not need support equipment? All right, what do we need for you then? Just rifles, and then of course for you we need power armor.
The president?
So we'll just start building the wasteland power armor, which isn't great. All right, get rid of the lore ones because that's copyright, so we can't listen to it. And we will start on up. So we got different factions. We got the Reformists, which are intellect. We have the Purists, which are elitist. And then we have Dorn loyalists, who are ruler. But Sergeant Dorn cannot stay in power, so you have to choose between these 2 here. And yeah, let's start on up. So the new update to the mod, we'll jump to 4 times speed. Comes with like the Illuminous ones, the Baggers, the Wither Dogs, all of this area right here. They got new focus trees, and an expanded focus tree, and I think some other ones did too. I know the Roach King has some. This talks about caps. Caps is a currency in the game. we'll just skip the tutorial because I've played the game before. So this is what we start out with: caps. We don't earn a whole lot as the enclaves to start off with, but we will start to build caps rapidly. All right, hit OK. The last bastion of freedom. When the rig was destroyed, the last hope of America laid at Navarro, the Brotherhood and NCR saw to it that the American dream was to be snuffed out. With many standing on the edge of despair, the toughest soldier of the Enclave, Sergeant Major Dornan, rallied what few troops he could muster and fought his way out with power armor. We get 3 divisions of Enclave veterans. Escaped using vertibirds. We get 2 flying aces, transport and gunships. Escape before the fighting got bad. We get 3,000 manpower, but lose 7% war support. We barely got out of there alive. I like this one, the 3 divisions of veterans, because we get some more power armor, but vertibirds, just having gunships starting out is incredibly useful. So we're just going to take the vertibirds. And old soldiers never die. And we'll actually put a group of these gunship vertibirds out with, let's see, ground target factor. Both of these are the same, so we'll put Dallas. And we're going to take you and shift click train. If we lose some, that's okay. We'll get those started up though. Insufficient resources. Yeah, we'll have insufficient resources for a while. But let's keep going. We'll get done with Old Soldiers Never Die. I'll try to read as much as I possibly can throughout this.
The president?
We'll put Shadow Churchill in charge. And Dwemer Freeman probably. Alright, perfect. Hard mode. There are many in the Enclave who desire a challenge, and America was never one to back down from adversary. From Valley Forge to D-Day to the reclamation of Alaska, the satisfaction, the payoff, the sense of accomplishment is what it truly means to be American. Others prefer to remind the wasteland that fancy rifles, false gods, and football pounding don't do well against an Enclave soldier in power armor. Question is, which one are you? Make note this is not for casual players and meant for those who have a greater knowledge of game mechanics. Nah, I like power trips. I want pain. I want death. I kind of just have a chance. We're just gonna go with I like power trips. Can I just have a challenge? Well, like I said, we're gonna make the NCR a little bit harder than what it is already, but I don't want to like completely nerf myself. So no, I like power troops. All right, in the lair of the bear, we're on the very borders of the NCR, a rogue nation occupying American soil. We cannot deny that they would destroy us if they became fully aware of our existence. Luckily for us, the bear is blind. Weakened by bureaucracy, infighting, and an ineffectual leader. With the right efforts made, we can hide under the very nose of the NCR until we are strong enough to reveal our plans, but we cannot keep them in the shadows forever. It will become harder and harder to conceal ourselves as time goes on. Our time will come soon. Unlocks the 8 hide activities from the NCR decision. This allows you to spend political power to keep the NCR from mobilizing against you. This cost of the decision increases by 10 political power every time you use it. Our time will come. Alrighty. Should be just about done with Old Soldiers Never Die. There, it's done. So let's do Sons and Daughters of Liberty. And let's read this. Old Soldiers Never Die. For years, Dornan under the name Chad Ranner hid among Vault City security. Many within his old unit settled there as well, growing the population considerably. For a time, it was peaceful, though by no means idyllic. Word out of the NCR saw Rangers and military police rounding up former Enclave citizens who also tried to integrate. During one caravan security run to Sac City, Dornan watched his mother and father were hanged for their association with the Enclave. Not even the children were spared. It took every ounce of his discipline to not open fire right then and there. Vault City bureaucracy kept the NCR at bay, but that was only for so long. Then one night there was a knock at Old Sergeant's door, and he was greeted by the steely eyes of the NCR Rangers. They had come looking for him and spoke to him by name. It was an intense fight, but by the end, there were 2 dead NCR Rangers, and Dornan knew his time was up. Never send morons for those who want a challenge. They came for him, and they'll come for the rest. Or so where did I put my power armor? Adds technology, advanced power armor. So yeah, we'll do that. We got the XO1 advanced power armor. Built 80 a year. They came for the rest. They came for him. They'll come for the rest. At the height of the Enclave's power, Dornan had the distinct privilege of leading his own unit, something unheard of, being he was a non-commissioned officer. However, Dornan's Rangers ranked aside the Devil's Brigade and Granite Company in terms of effectiveness. When Navarro fell, they of course rallied behind the most feared and respected man in the Enclave. And as time wore on and the dream of America flickered out, they moved on, though many settled in Vault City. When Dornan arrived at the house of his second in command, fists bloody from the encounter, they all knew there was no longer safe. The two went door to door, knowing the hour was coming. That night they saw an exodus. Dornan knew his last act as Chad Ranar to get them through. They made their way to an abandoned pre-war base off near New Reno. It was long abandoned, and a few actually knew of his exact location, but Dornan did. As the family settled in the pre-war bases, only one thing was on their mind. They were ready for revenge. They wanted a future for their children. They just wanted to live. So I gained 1,000 manpower. Uh, gain base war support and stability plus 5%, or gain 1,000 manpower and 50 political power, or gain nothing. Stability is not horrible. War supports, they're both not great. So we'll just do they are ready for revenge. Makes sense because they are taking people. If they didn't take people, then they wouldn't gain any manpower. So cannot train any units just yet. Let's see, they're fighting up there. Here. I have on my own time played Roach King, and that was actually quite fun. There's a lot of really fun playable nations on here. Sons and Daughters of Liberty, a new generation of Americans. Time, however, had marched on. Dornan cropped black hair had turned silver white, and even his best officers grew weary with age. Yet among their numbers were not a series of old Enclave, but a new generation sired by the Enclave of old. Many were taught the basics of survival, others were taught how to be soldiers. Many of the older ones here tonight were Rangers, and they had taught their children well. They had come of age being taught of the Enclave, of America, and their heritage. Dornan thought back to the children hanging beside his parents, then looked to the families huddled around the center of the depot. Even if a few said the Enclave was dead or the American dream was gone, they weren't going to give up, not this time. They are the Enclave's future, for they are America's future, but do they even have a future? We will be going with for they are Americans' future because we are going to try to push the Reformers faction up just ever so slightly. So now it's 3838. Calling on all Enclave. We can use the old radio broadcast equipment around the depot to send out a signal alerting other Enclave survivors to our presence. Gets event the Sierra Enclave. And I can show you hide activities from the NCR. Costs 15 political power, 47 days. Hide from the NCR for 90 days, and then plus a bonus 47 days, which is those days. So we'll just use that real quick. We're not gaining a lot of political power, but that will be okay. Once these guys are fully trained, they'll stop. Let's see how many I've got in storage. Still 50, haven't lost any. Cafeteria incident. A disturbing photograph has been circulating among the cafeteria staff involving one staff member intentionally handling ingredients inappropriately. Make a show of finding the man and punishing him, or we have more important matters to attend to. We'll just lose the political power and gain the war support. Make a show of finding him and punishing him. Do not get your soldiers sick from improper handling of food. I absolutely wanted to talk about this a little bit. I absolutely love this mod. This mod is amazing. If you are a fan of Fallout, this mod is everything you want to have for a Fallout mod in Hearts of Iron 4. And the Enclave Redux is an incredibly well fleshed out mod as well. So I highly recommend both. The Sierra Enclave, using old codes and working endlessly to get the radio running, the refugees from Vault City began broadcasting from afar. The encrypted channel would be hidden from prying ears like the NCR and secured from those who knew how, like the Brotherhood. Soon others began arriving, some from the north, the east, and even a few out of California. A month in, a series of vertebrates arrived, having come from Bloomfield Space Center in California. Among them was Franklin Anderson, a well-respected scientist in his time and a brilliant orator who managed to rally many within the depot to the old purist cause. While others chafed under the words, no one argued it played to the Enclave's desire for revenge. Not long after, a separate company a second group arrived from Oregon, a famous mercenary warband known as Granite Company, who historically was one of the greatest units in the Enclave. While Granite Sr. passed away not long ago, his son, Douglas Granite, had taken over, and where Anderson made fiery retorts of vengeance for the purity of America, Granite made impassioned speeches to counter talking about reform and of a new beginning. Night after night, this continued and soon came to head when it was suggested that the depot hold a vote. A scientist, politician, and a mercenary war hero. Interesting. Things certainly got busy around here, or I liked it when it was quiet. We'll just take the political power. Things certainly got busy around here. Never let the old flag fall. Deadline declared war on Site Y. Who's in charge over here? Mr. Bishop. She. Lanius cohort, the Blue Rose Society. Someone did ask me to play as the Blue Rose Society. I'm gonna have to really like figure out how to play them, to be honest. They have their own focus tree. But I played on my own time trying to play them, and Lanius' cohort just blew right through me. So I will have to sit there and do a little bit of research on how to beat Lanius' cohort with them. So back up here. See. Lose stability for political power. Not worth it. Gain more support for reduction in research. Demand tribute. The raiders who took refuge just outside of our borders have sent us a simple message: pay tribute or die. We will not be pushed around. So the den tell them no. Be able to raid us, but they're not going to be able to. Never let the old flag fall. Despite all that's happened in the last few months, the Enclave remnants are scattered far and across the American continent. From MacArthur to Chicago to possibly even Texas beyond, Dornan came to the Sierra Depot for a reason: to create a stable base far from the prying eyes and prepare for the future. Now with what he has, what Anderson and Granite have, they can accomplish just that. It'll be hard, difficult, but that never stopped America before. America will rise. America will go on. The rig may have gone down, and the families hunted like rats in the sewers, but the wasteland should learn it's not so easy to take out America like that, not by a long shot. Spread the word. God bless America. Or we cast our voice and receive only wind howls. So we get a little bit more. We get a lot of political power, a little bit more of the vertibirds, or God bless America, Enclave survivors from past expeditions from afar arrive to join. We get Coyote Kelly and 100 political power. Though I love the gunships, I'm going to take the extra units because we'll need them in the wars coming up. We'll do our choice. We could never forget our past. Why is that doing that? There we go. Let's do never forget our past, because once we do our choice, we have to start beelining down the Enclave. So, new troops. We have to start beelining down whatever path we choose, which is going to be Reformist. Chief of the Army. Wild Will Kilgore. Let's see. Just hold on to our money, I think, for right now. Can do that for... Oh, no. We don't want intellectual support. We want yeah, we do want intellectual support. You're also really good. It's elite or support. You're really good. Let's just get Boris T to get that intellectual support starting off. He offsets it pretty well. Alright. Let's see what we can do. Respected by scientists. Career politician. Hates followers. Alright. But yes, there's this mod's always being updated. There's always getting new content with it. Hopefully they're going to start expanding throughout the rest of the United States. There are some mods that will let you come over here based off of like Fallout 76 and Fallout 3, but they're just like extension mods. They're not actually part of the base model mod, or the base mod. So, decryption. Never forget our past. We get military heritage. Just do our choice. If you're ever curious where that's at, go into your research. Come in here. It's over here, not in cybernetics, in reward technologies. Right here, origins, military heritage. Unlock access to military heritage. Technology is located in the top right of the infantry tech. So we come over here. Top right. It's over here. Unique, past victories, the long march, and historical firearms. I mean, they're not crazy bonuses or anything like that, but you still get them. So there's something for you to pay attention to. So like Ohm law's done. So we're just gonna jump in and do past victories. Here. Theorists. Not sure who I want right now. Construction speed would be pretty nice. Politically connected is really nice. Stability is really nice. War support. I can't take him because of the elite. Political power. Let's definitely probably do just the stability. Give us 60, yeah. Lanius cohort has defeated the Blue Rose Society. Figured. There's our little slanter buddies. Door to the Forgotten Lily. But I'm super excited to be back in Old World Blues playing for you guys. Wars going on everywhere. The 80s. Farson is starting to lose. Farson of the Molman. Alright, our president. Okay. Sergeant Dorn is well respected by both the Reformer and Pierce factions within the Enclave. Nonetheless, neither see him as a viable president and presented their own candidates. The Pierce have selected Franklin Anderson as their candidate, while the Reformers are led by Douglas Granite. It appears the Pierce faction has the advantage, but the support of the Sarge could still tip the scales in favor of the Reformers. And we will go on with Sergeant Dornan supports Douglas Granite. Dornan decides Dr. Anderson is a moron. Douglas Granite of the Reformers faction becomes the new Enclave president. Congratulations, Mr. President. I love his character picture there. So with that, I hate how this is doing this. We will do our president, start, Bins of the Father. Can't do that. Creatures. Oh, they did add this. I forgot to come into here and show you all this. This is the creatures tab now. So when you gain the technology, you can start to build like mole mats, rad roaches, murlocs, death claws, feral ghouls, geckos, and rad stags. Go all the way up. So that's something they did add in this newest update. We'll do. Ooh. I hate the losing of the recruitable population so early, so we're just going to hold off on that for right now. Because I can't afford to lose a whole lot of recruitable population. Navarro's declared war. Yeah. Soldier's legions defeated the Rusty Hooks. I don't know where that's at. Chaos in the Navarro territories. Northeast California burns today as after a skirmish between the Van Graff mercenaries and the Shi settlers in the coastal city of Fusang left 21 dead. Order has collapsed in the NCR Navarro territories. Settlers aligned with the Shi and the tribals of the region have both taken up arms against the local garrison, successfully taking control of the east and south of the frontier territory in what has been dubbed the Navarro Crisis. As the Shi, NCR, and Eureka furiously debate intervention, open warfare in Navarro is expected to commence, an event which will pose a serious threat to diplomatic relations between the three factions no matter the outcome. The NCR's dominance in California is being challenged. The 80s defeated the Ruby Valley Refuge. There's Eureka. They get some of the Granite Company. Is that encryption? Yeah. Not like anybody's going to try to decrypt us any here time soon. Let's see, our president's about to be done.
This is Enclave Maincom.
So I don't think you get him as leader just yet, or if you do. Or our president, sins of the father. Granite's past is a controversial subject in our midst, made all the more contentious by rumors spread by the purists. The cause is Granite's father and his relation to the chosen one. The purists accused Granite's father of treason for aiding the chosen one in destroying the oil rig, but lack any evidence. Every veteran member of Granite Company admits that Granite just showed up one day as an infant, and Granite Sr. never spoke who Granite's mother was. Granite himself grew up never knowing who his mother was. What happened on the rig, arriving at the depot, brought all of these to a head, but Granite brushed it off. Despite the fact he will deny these allegations as nothing but political slander, Douglas remembers clearly what his father told him on his deathbed about the fateful day on the oil rig. He aided the chosen one, and then went their separate ways. So we get Douglas Youth. Granite gains mutant sympathies, non-core manpower plus 2%. Speaking to the chosen one, let me tell you who your mother was. Gets the same, but gained base stability negative 5%. Or he didn't aid the chosen one, gained 5% stability in war sport. He aided the chosen one and then went their separate ways. Douglas Youth. Granite grew up on the campaign trail with his father, learning from radical officers, malcontent grunts, and jaded followers. When not learning basic skills such as reading, writing, and math by followers' teachers, he was taught by the various old members of the Enclave to ensure he had an American upbringing and to be proud of his heritage. Outside basic soldiering skills and how to field strip a laser rifle, Granite was raised with a fervent hatred of communism. Sadly, 200 years of Enclave propaganda and living on a rig run under a command economy meant that members of the Granite Company were left with a vague understanding of what communism was. As such, Granite knew all enemies of America must be communists. So Granite gains anti-communist war support plus 5%. Granite's hatred for communism will play a role in future events and is necessary to unlock anti-communist propaganda. Or spent history class playing on his father's Pip-Boy. Gain 5% stability. We'll just take anti-communist for the war support. Douglas' first contact. When Douglas was 17 years old, he was finally allowed to follow his father on a mission, and Granite established himself every bit the man his father was and even more. He piloted vertibirds to Coover, souped up with Rio soldiers along the river, and learned much from the people. Much to his father's chagrin, he went, in a way, native. Nonetheless, Granite Sr. shed tears of pride, giving him a position with the company where he quickly rose to the ranks despite his father's influence, until a chill day in November 2068 when the taps played for Granite Sr., and so passed the last American. For Granite Company and the last of the Western Enclave, they saw it up to Granite to write the epilogue. To Granite himself, he decided instead to write the next chapter. With determination, he took charge of his father's company, and on his first mission leading Granite Defense Company, he received an emergency distress signal. This message sounded desperate and came from an NCR platoon fighting raiders, a Brotherhood patrol fighting super mutants, or Kaiser scouts seeking new lands. I think last time I went with the Brotherhood, and I think I'm going to continue with that one. So a Brotherhood patrol fighting super mutants. When Douglas arrived with his team, the situation of the defenders had grown more dire. Granite and his company stayed out of sight to determine the next move below them. Brotherhood were holed up in the remains of a highway patrol station, being swarmed by a dozen super mutant and centaurs. Several knights had already been killed, and a paladin had their T-45 chestplate torn off and being devoured by centaurs. The Brotherhood had worn down the super mutants, however, and Granite had a clear shot of the super mutant master leading the assault. Taking stock of the situation, both the sorry state of the Brotherhood and the super mutants, Douglas decided to wipe them out, lest they reveal the Enclave's survival. Organic gains Ruthless, Justify Wartime negative 10%, Resistance Target negative 5%, plus 200 manpower, gets event The Good Life, or gets Charismatic, which improve relations opinion plus 20%, which isn't really great for the Enclave because you start out with negative relation with anybody anyway. Daily Compliance gain plus 10% though, or plus 0.1 percent. 10% is actually really good. Gets the event The Good Life and will give us a connection with this faction. Adds friends in the Brotherhood, which grants 3% research speed. So we'll help them take down the mutants. We'll come back later because we can get the Brotherhood to join us in fighting the NCR. So We'll do that. For a while, Granite and Granite Company lived the life of mercenaries, taking the dangerous jobs that paid well, but were seemingly impossible. A life of adventure, daring, and more than enough to fill volumes worth of pulp comics. And even had an entry in Keith Kiffin's NCR Comics Resurrection Squad. Granite himself became something of a folk hero in Western Oregon, and it was said that he was always seemed to have someone watching over him, as more than once an incident where he should have clearly died resulted in his foe being sniped from afar, a suspicious placed weapon, or a door unlocked that shouldn't have been. Granted, of course, counted as good fortune. When not on the job, he was more than at home, kicking it back with his company, earning a loyal following of hardened veterans who would follow him to hell and back if he asked. But all good things, but with all good things, the good event they come to an end. They come to an end. The fame, of course, was a double-edged sword, as a unit of mercenaries supporting Enclave power armor was more than to attract the attention of a certain two-headed bear. It started when several NCR Rangers were spotted around Arcata, but this wasn't too out of the norm ever since the NCR moved into Northwest California. However, they didn't stay long, but members of Granite Company noticed they were eyeing them with suspicion. More than a few members of Granite Company noticed they seemed to be casing their compound, and at night their compound took sniper fire. Granite lost two of his newest recruits that night. However, you don't just randomly fire weapons in Arcata without half the town returning fire. By the time Granite and his veterans arrived, two NCR Rangers lay dead, and a third was being held hostage. After some enhanced interrogation, it was revealed that they were after Granite Company. They were remnants of the Enclave, and the NCR was going to bring them to justice. The portmaster made it clear to Granite that he was to leave. At least he bring all the NCR upon Eureka. For the first time in his life, Granite had encountered something he couldn't shoot his way out of, and he didn't know what to do. This was until one of his company came forward, having picked up a signal out east near New Reno. Gets event Granite's Exodus. It's hard leaving your home you grew up in, and many of Granite's senior members argue they should just overthrow the postmasters and establish their own little enclave in Arcata. Granite pondered a few hours, but concluded that even if they did, the NCR would just have a greater excuse to attack. Here in Arcata, they had a few numbers than Navarro, and all of Granite Company knew of the fall of Navarro. Others believed that the Sierra Armored Depot was a trap as well. While the signal was of Enclave origin, it seemed to be too perfect. The timing of the signal and the arrival of the Rangers had to be a trap. Decoding the signal using some equipment sold to them by some crazy caravan merchant, the voice of Ark Dornan came over the radio. No one dared question if Dornan would have betrayed the Enclave. He died before being made a stooge. With that, it was decided Granite Company would form up with Dornan at the depot. Granite Company made the trek to Nevada, battling along Mirlik-infested rivers, taking down supermutant war bands, trading shots with NCR Army forces near Redding, even a daring rescue of their own from the den after they were captured. During the attack on the den, they salvaged as many weapons as possible. Get 15 plasma rifles, 10 Gauss rifles, 64 common weapons, 56 common energy weapons. Rescued a few would-be slaves as reinforcements. Gained 350 manpower, changed the popularity of intellectuals by 5. It's not bad. Traveled light to keep on the move. We'll just rescue some folks. The weapons are nice, but you get a little bit more than 100, and we'll be fine for right now. Crisis in the Depot. Granite's arrival in the depot was quite the unexpected turn of events. No one expected some backward mercenary company from Oregon to arrive. They arrived to find the depot full of Vault City refugees who had been used to living in comfort, and most barely knew how to field strip a laser rifle. What was more, there was a firebrand old man who was trying to rile up the refugees with some rhetoric, but with the same rhetoric his father had always warned about. Everything came to a head when Anderson was going on a fiery speech about killing the mutant, and Granite spoke out against him. In a surprise turn, Anderson's aggression was blunted by Granite's sheer stubbornness. It soon devolved into personal attacks from Anderson at how Granite was a muty lover. Furthermore, than a few members of Granite Company weren't originally in the Enclave, having been recruited after. The final nail in the coffin was the allegations that Granite Sr. had aided in the destruction of the rig. The last one, no one dared dirty the legacy of Granite's father, not while Granite still breathed. Granite was about to ready to pummel Anderson to death. We get Talk with My Fist, Division Attack plus 4%, Planning Speed negative 2%. Or Granite was about ready to gun Anderson down right there. Let My Laser do the talking, Division Defense negative 2%, Breakthrough plus 4%. I like the Breakthrough. Let's do a Division Attack though, because Planning Speed, I can always just plan longer. So we'll go with that one. Talk with My Fists. The Spirit of 13. Thankfully, he was talked down from such violence, not to mention the fact Anderson was surrounded by several soldiers in Enclave power armor as well. Granite cursed Anderson, saying it was that thought that burned down the Enclave in the first place, and something in him seemed different. Granite was almost possessed as he shouted, drawing all in the room to him. Even the uninterested Sergeant Major Dornan turned his head and raised an eyebrow. After calming down, Granite decided that if he couldn't physically beat Anderson with his fist, he'd beat Anderson at his own game. He had a few ideas that were always in the back of his mind, one even involving taking up the presidency of the NCR, but why bother with trying to go to the NCR when he could have so much more here in Nevada? Against the advice of those in Granite Company, Granite shed his power armor and took up his father's suit and a red, white, and blue striped tie he found. It was a little tight and he needed help with the tie, but the next night met Anderson on stage. The vote came a few weeks later, and the rest they say is history. Gained Spirit of 13, daily political power gain plus 0.01, and division recovery rate plus 3%. The political power gain ain't nothing, but it's okay. Awesome. So we'll do reform. If we are to rebuild our once great nation, we must reform ourselves and our principles. Sadly, many of the reformist elements have already deserted in the last few years, leaving most of the devoted and fanatical. We will have to tread carefully in our efforts to reform the Enclave into an organization fit to restore order, justice, and democracy to these United States of America. Add Enclave efficiency, which grants special force capacity multiplier plus 15%, boost your armor power cap, gets events legitimacy territorial, and a limit for reform. Start. Yep. I don't think we can. Okay, we can train a couple of auxiliaries. Before we do that, let's see. What is this? What's the width? 16 width. And what are you? 20 width. Yeah, we'll just do a couple of you. Do 4. And if we can. Doesn't count as having any bottle cap, so to retool machinery, some stability, secret language, probably pack bronzes, yeah, need that. Work when needed is about finished. Jump over here and do urban power. Control war and declared war on the carcass. Walkers. Yeah, we're losing some. They're gaining quite a bit. That'd be alright. Lanius cohort, Shell's army, the scrap here. Log Parish. A lament of reform, or for reform, my apologies. Alright, the reformer faction of the Enclave has never had it easy. First and foremost, many of their better natures have often led them to desert the Enclave the first chance they got, or do whatever they could to resist the terrible actions they were forced to commit. What's more, those who remained often had to keep their heads down due to the machinations of President Richardson. How his hubris bit him hard in the end, with many reformers banished to the mainland, making up many of the survivors, while the hardline leadership went down with the rig. However, both are at odds for the future of the Enclave. The younger generation, having grown up outside the insular culture of the rig, have a more open view of the worlds around them, nurtured, of course, by their parents. However, many were beholden to their parents and are unsure of their future given they were forced to flee their homes for no crime aside being alive. As Granite addressed the assembly, he could feel the uncertainty within the room. Today is the beginning of a new era, and many of you entrusted that to me. Among the series of events in my life, nothing could have filled me with greater anxiety than what you have given me today. On the one hand, I was summoned by my country, I attest I barely know, whose voice I could never hear until now. My fellow Americans, I hear you. I am but your humble servant. I will put down my Gatling laser and take up the oath of office you good people have all seen fit to hand me. We shall enter this new world with fire in our eyes and pride in our heart. God bless the Enclave, its people, and its future. Plus 200 political power. And God bless America. And may it never be forgotten. Forgotten. Plus 200 command power. We'll just go with God bless the Enclave. Want that political power. Legitimacy tutorial. For the first time in centuries, our authority has extended beyond core Enclave members. Consider our previous interaction with these newfound citizens could easily be misinterpreted as attempted genocide. Proving ourselves a legitimate government will take time and effort. Certain choices we make will increase or decrease our legitimacy. Higher legitimacy comes with bonuses to our rule and allows for new choices in our focus tree. Low legitimacy will come with penalties, at least until we find a way to keep the wastelanders loyal regardless of their opinions. You'll notice the negative effects of your low legitimacy are currently very weak. The effects of legitimacy becomes more severe as our population expands beyond core Enclave members. Here's the legitimacy up here. I'll keep that in mind, or the Enclave will tell them what to think. We'll just keep that in mind. Give us that 5%. Come into here, and this is parts of the focus tree. So, New Reno Reborn, presidential speech. So we have to pretty much beeline it down here to then purge the opposition and choose either way here. Unlocks rebuilding the nation focus tree or unlocks the Nevada focus tree. We're going to do rebuilding the nation, of course, but we also have to do the mutant question, which is down here, and we have to purge and do the new capital. So presidential victory speech, we'll do this first. Stability and political power. We will continue on. Got one civilian factory. Let's just do another infrastructure. Really not much we can build here. Makeshift biplanes. These are cruise missiles. Really, I can't afford to build any of that stuff right this second. So, disposable rockets we have. Artillery. Well, we probably should get some of these when able. Not right now. No reason really to like waste your time researching stuff that is going to like negatively give you a bonus or like negative ahead of time penalties. It's just not really worth it. I do need to research my recruitable population so we can actually start down our path. Let's see, we got wild promises, change of popularity plus 10%. Hold a small speech, we can do that. Military exercises, we can do that as well. So there's past victories. We'll just do the long, actually, I'm sorry. We'll come over to land doctrine and do concentration of force. Won't do the, what's it called? Wild promises just yet because it negatively affects us. We can just be closer to the end of it. Traitors among our scientists. In one of the many meeting rooms in the Sierra Army Depot, Dr. Anderson was giving a speech to the scientists at the depot. Many of the scientists were involved in the FEV experiments, including the infamous FEV Curling 13. It is no surprise they leaned overwhelmingly purist, and Anderson was preaching to the choir. My fellow scientists, Anderson said, we are suffering too much at the hands of the mutants. We've been unjustly persecuted for only performing our research. Our research was meant to save America, but the mutants think otherwise. They blew up the rig and sacked Navarro, nearly killing the American dream. Countless colleagues have died by their hands. Even worse to this day, they hunt us down over fabricated crimes. Crocodile tears fell from Anderson's eyes. I myself was a member of the Chemical Corps. I lost many good friends when the rig was destroyed. I feel the pain all you experience, and I will never forgive the mutants. The fool who calls him president would make peace with those mutants. Make peace with the monsters responsible for our suffering. This is completely unacceptable. The president must be removed from office for all our dead colleagues and for America. He was met with a thunderous applause. Get Enclave scientists with treacherous scientists. Lose 5% stability, 5% research speed, and plus 0.05 daily elite support. This man's army. Maybe it was wishful thinking or naivety that many thought life in the depot was going to go back to normal after the election. That couldn't be further from the truth. Instead, things were only seeming to ramp up. Granite's ruthless charisma had instilled and inspired a fire in many, ready to tackle what the future would bring, and the first order of business was restoring the Enclave armed forces. The depot had been transforming from a dilapidated ruin from the pre-war era to a rightful post-war fortress in its own right. Vertibirds were being reworked, automated defenses were coming back online, and those who couldn't join the armed forces were making up the beginnings of a proper support corps. Said army, however, was anything but. While all identified as Enclave citizens now, those who had experience were all from different walks of life, from Granite's mercenary outfit to former Vault City security to Anderson's Bloomfield garrison. Even a small percentage of the oldest member of the third generation Enclave since the rig fell, barely older than 17, I had never seen combat, let alone hold a laser rifle. As they all stood in loose formation, kept together by the seniors, a heavy set of power armored footsteps approached. All looked to see Command Sergeant Major Dornan take to the pad and survey what could be explained as a formation. He had been given a simple task by the new president: train the next generation of American soldiers. The senior members began ushering everyone into a tighter formation, but once a kid with his half uniform unbuttoned stood off to the side. He had no interest in any of this, and his mother sent him here to have him learn manners. Dornan walked over, his demeanor eerily calm. I'd get in formation, son. Kid looked at him and smirked. I don't have to take orders from you, sir. You're not my dad. You could hear a pin drop on the drill pad, or you could hear a pin drop on the drill pad. No sound. No sound. Fortunately, he was a very fast learner, and everyone did push ups until Dornan got tired. Ah, yes. Military basic training. Learned his lesson, I bet. Encounter with the Crimson Caravan. One of our patrols stumbled upon an expedition of the Crimson Caravan. The squad leader, less trigger happy than some, has reported back requesting orders on how to proceed. The caravan is not close enough to confirm that they are faced with Enclave power armor specifically, but rumors or suspicious patrols in the Nevada desert could reach the NCR no less. Leave them be or lose legitimacy. I just leave them be. 5% or 5 political power is nothing. Later it will be. Right now, not so much. Energy cells. Stability, training time, war support. Sergeant Dornan is always one to try to pick up when you can. So yeah, we'll choose him for the stability. Get done with our victory speech here pretty soon. We'll just go down to 1 regiment. Focus on it. Lennius Corhelt has defeated. We've got our victory speech done. We can provoke them or reach out to the centralists. We'll reach out to the centralists. Still provoke us anyway further down. Demote purist scientist. I mean, it hurts our research speed, but that'll be fine. Fusang has defeated the free folks in the war. Oh man, Fusang might win it. The dragon. Oh, it looks like Navarro territories. The one winning. 25 for hide our activities from the NCR. Heat. Traitors in the officer corps. What do you mean we can't sack those traitors? Shouted Granite. Granite never experienced treacherous offers before, having always relied on his charisma to keep dissenters in line. Unfortunately, the Enclave officer corps was dominated by purists who see Granite as an illegitimate president. Now his own subordinates were subverting orders and even scheming amongst themselves to replace their commander-in-chief. Colonel Stevens sighed. Believe me, I want those people out of the officer corps too, but right now the officer corps is dominated by purists or purist sympathizers. If we launch a purge, it will almost certainly trigger a coup. Granite had no experience with the situation. What do you suggest instead? We play the long game, Colonel Stevenson replied, promoting pro-reformists to officer positions, convincing the fence setters, and even a few training accidents. When the purists are weak enough, we strike. Oh, and one more thing, continued Colonel Stevenson. I suggest you securely lock the door to your quarters. We'll have to deal with them later. Replace Enclave officer with treacherous officers. Military leader cost plus 50%. Starting the level of new army leaders, -1. Stability, -5%. Max planning, -15%. Starting attack logistics and planning, -1. And daily elite support plus 0.05. Secret stolen. Last night, a group of traders made off with a vertibird and almost all of our old military codes. Their communications suggest they were opportunists who saw a better future in selling the codes than wherever the Enclave is headed. Regardless of their intentions, the betrayal is a severe blow. Many old military bases, including the heavily fortified lower levels of the Sierra Army Depot, are now forever lost to us. Good riddance, we don't need them, or blame the purists. So with that, you can. It's not that. We could demote the crackdown right here. Crackdown's justified. Lose 50 manpower. Lose 5% stability. Lose 5% popularity of elites. change in popularity of intellectuals by 5%, lose 1 manpower, and then we execute a lady. Really, we've got their popularity down enough now that we can just choose to do this one and not justify the crackdown. Naval specific. Come over here, do the long march. 200 days. And we can demote purist officers, but we don't want to get them demoted. So, first Citizen Lynette wins re-election. I think that works out for us better. It appears Vault City will be led by First Citizen Lynette for a half-decade longer, with the incumbent First Citizen announcing their appointment for a second term earlier after the first ever popular election for the position. Lynette secured a re-election on a campaign prioritizing ghoul rights and stronger ties with the new California Republic, hoping to transform the city into a shining beacon of civilization in the savage wasteland of northern Nevada. Time will tell how Lynette's re-election impacts the big circle. She's an intellectual, so let me see. Ghouls of Gecko, so a second term, because I think this is, yeah, Myers. So, long time coming. Amenities export, cities of tomorrow. Healthy green glow. The Nevada Pact. Yeah, they probably won't help us, of course. But we'll see what we can do with what they have. So we're both intellectuals. I'm hoping to save Major General Grimm. I remember trying to save him the last time as well, and it didn't work out, but you never know. Second time's always the charm. Alright, we'll get to reach out to the centrists. It'll hurt the people, but that's fine. Questions about the NCR. It appears the purists have been spreading the rumor that we are looking to compromise with the new California Republic. Some have even dared to suggest we would surrender to our old and hated nemesis. Purists, moderates, and even many reformers have absolutely no intention of letting bygones be bygones. Thus, the question is posed during our conference: what to do with the NCR? We have no intentions of compromising. Gain 50 political power, 3% popularity for intellectuals, and you get questions about mutants who promise not to make peace with the NCR. Or just lose. No, I do not. I promise not to make peace. Question about mutants. While we have made much progress in introducing the idea of outsiders as something else than target practice, many are still unsure about our intentions towards the muties. Rumors have ranged from possible integration of wastelanders into our ranks to ridiculous suggestion of forced intermarriage between pure and unpure humans. It appears that there are many doubting purists and moderates who would be much more at ease after the promise of a peaceful but separated existence, provided the mutants know who's in charge. And so the question posed, what about the mutants? There'll be no integrations? Or there will be. There will be. So, what about them? Question about ghouls. Some have raised the question of whether we should integrate ghouls in the Enclave. On one hand, many of the ghouls we've come across are feral monsters, but it's been pointed out some of them knew pre-war America and perversely are more American than many wastelanders. We have no intention, or we do. We do. Alright, a question about the Brotherhood of Steel. While it's not as hated as the NCR, the Brotherhood of Steel played a major role in the destruction of Navarro and the loss of many of our comrades, brothers, and fathers. It was inevitable that a voice in the room would be raised to ask what we mean to do with power armored Boy Scouts occupying so many of our military bases using stolen government property. The Brotherhood should be pitted against the NCR. So, we won't lose any. We always do. I always do lose some intellectual support there, but it's not as bad as it could be because we'll start to get rid of these guys. They're at 27%. I think what is it? I think to do this you need it at 10%, and we should be able to knock these guys down. And see, right here, we're gonna purge them anyway. So it doesn't make much sense to demote them and then purge them. So it hurts our army more than it does anything here. And we don't want to demote them and then try to rescue them in. Like if I can take him in with me, I'll just keep Major General Grimm. Or we'll promote one of these people. Probably Churchill or Colonel Stevenson. Texas Brotherhood. Anyway, with that, I know we haven't finished the consolidating power, but we are getting close to the end of the hour. I hope you guys have enjoyed the first episode of our revisit to the Enclave Redux on the Fallout mod for Hearts of Iron 4. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.